Okay. If our panelists can make their way down here, that'd be great. Arturo, Tony, AJ, I see you all. While they make their way down, come on up. Just come right up these stairs. I'll get out of your way. There's no assigned seats. You can pick whichever chair you'd like. While our panelists make their way down here, I do want to give one quick announcement that I forgot to say earlier before the show. In 2 weeks, on the 14th, which is an election day, if you live in Oklahoma City, it's an election day for the new municipal bond. It's very important. Also here at Tower Theater, there's another film. Sorry, Tower, we're not at Rodeo. Like 6 years of doing events at Tower, and I've not changed my brain. Anyway, here at Rodeo Cinema, there's a fundraiser for Palomar, which is an excellent organization. They're screening a film called This Is Where You're Not to Sleep. Also, if your cell phones are on, you can turn them off. That would help with our signal. It's a film about law enforcement and domestic violence. It's excellent. It's a really good cause. You should come. There are little handouts in the lobby, or talk to anyone wearing a pink shirt. Becca is over here waving. She can give you more details. All right. Hi, everyone. Did you enjoy the film? This is the way it goes. If you'd like to make a donation to Rodeo Cinema, they are raising money for a signal booster that will allow us not to have this static with our microphones. That's a true story. I'm not making that up. We're trying to get a signal booster for antenna. For each of you, you can turn them on. They should be okay. So from my right, your left, this is Representative Arturo Alonso from House District 89, which we are in right now. This is his home turf. So big hand for Representative Alonso.
House District 89. Pleasure to have you.
Thanks for being here. In the middle, AJ Griffin, former state senator, now CEO of the Potts Family Foundation. Oh, man. And at the far end, Tony Stobbe, retired commander of the U.S. Coast Guard, independent voter and petitioner for State Question 836. Thanks for being here. Friends, thanks so much for joining. A couple of quick things. I have a low-key crush on Mary Peltola. Any congressperson that knows the cost of a fishing net is all right by me. That scene gets me every time, where she's like, I don't know about beluga nets, but Sam was like, how do you? Okay, that's a person of the people, which I appreciate. For our panelists, for each of you, Arturo, I'll start with you. What's your main takeaway from the film? This is your first time to see it for all of you, right? Great. Okay, what's your main takeaway?
Yeah, no, so definitely had a lot of big takeaways. For one, it's something I think we need in Oklahoma. Just in seeing a lot of the examples from Alaska to Idaho, I think there's a lot of examples that resonated with what we're seeing in Oklahoma right now. In many ways, members of the legislature, because I do a lot of work within the state legislature, and it's my role right now.
Because you're a legislator.
But people that aren't as connected to the communities that they represent. And I think having something like open primaries in Oklahoma could really help incentivize members to get out and talk to the community, talk to the people that they're representing. And just seeing the way that having things like open primaries as well as ranked choice voting incentivizes bipartisanship. I think in many ways something like compromise or the ability to collaborate has become kind of a bad word in a place like Oklahoma, where we're skewed in one direction, right? A very conservative state.
The other C word, compromise. In case people are wondering about ranked choice voting, we're going to talk largely about open primaries tonight. In the film, they talk about this opposition to ranked choice voting that started roughly 4 or 5 years ago. In Alaska and in Oklahoma as well, kind of nationwide. It became a bit of a boogeyman for one party more than the other, which is funny because both parties oppose it when it doesn't benefit them. So in Oklahoma, the legislature 2 years ago, 3 years ago, banned ranked choice voting. It's just a statutory change, which we could overturn if we wanted to, but it's not something that's being, it's not as proposed as a state question right now. State question 836 is
just open primaries. But we'll come back to that. AJ, anything from the film surprise you, stand out?
I've had the opportunity to meet Lisa Murkowski, and I still really want to be her when I grow up. She's pretty amazing, and I've always had a lot of admiration for her. She came to Oklahoma when she was campaigning probably, I don't know, 10 years ago. Had an opportunity to meet her, and for an elected Republican to cross the aisle and endorse a Democrat for Congress is a big deal. But it shouldn't be. It was based on relationship and their ability to work together, and the fact that they just wanted to solve problems and they saw the problems similarly. Didn't mean they believed that the solutions were all the same, but at least they saw the same problems. And that's where we are today, is we don't even see the problems the same. And I just really admire Senator Murkowski and want her to come back to Oklahoma and teach us how to do this.
Before going to Tony, since both of you have run for office, when you knock doors, they talk a lot in the film about knocking doors for everybody. What was your experience like? Or what is your experience like?
So right now, I mean, because we have a closed primary system, the Democratic Party, we've opened it up to independents. So whenever we're campaigning, we have a universe of people that we go, reach out, and try to get them convinced that we're the candidate for you. So we've talked to both Democrats and independents, and Republicans in the district are kind of left out, just the way we currently approach elections. And something like open primaries would incentivize us to open that scope and really talk to everyone. Because I know in my district, it's not just Democrat or independent, it's the Republicans as well. And even though we might not agree on everything, I mean, there's ways to have civil discourse and ways that, we respect both sides, but we might not fully agree with each other. But right now, there's not much of an incentive to go out and really talk to people that aren't necessarily going to be voting for us.
You asked that question because you heard me tell the story before, I think. When I first ran for the first time, they handed me my push cards, and sweet little me, I thought, you just go to a neighborhood and you knock on the doors. And they said, oh, no. That's not how you do that. You only knock these doors because those are the only people that can vote for you. And my thought was, well, what about all these other people? They either don't vote or they can't vote for you, just so it doesn't matter. And I hate that. I hate it. 4 rural counties in Oklahoma. I don't know how you knock all the doors, but I'd love to try it someday.
My favorite stories from elected officials are when they knock on the wrong door and have to have a conversation with someone not on the list. And so often that person has not had a politician knock on their door in years and years, and it's so refreshing.
Well, when they asked, they said, you're like her? Like, that's you. I'm like, first of all, I'm thinking, how good is that picture? It doesn't look like me. I'm standing right in front of you. But also, they're like, you're actually on my doorstep. People are really kind of shocked, especially if you're knocking on a door that isn't a 5 of 5 voter. This is a political term. If you're a 5 of 5, that means you voted 5 out of the previous 5 elections. That means you voted when we were electing Don Kempter. So those 5 of 5 voters, and those are the only people that even make it on your list. If you're at 2 out of 5, you don't even get to put on the list. So you're not really considered. And that's part of the reason why I'm so passionate about this. It's time to change that. Everybody matters.
Yeah, and I definitely want to second that. Whenever you talk to someone that has never really had a door knocked, and in my district, it's a very blue district. So once I finished my universe, I was like, let me just talk to people, and I just opened the scope of who's out there. And most people had never really been talked to, so they were like, wait, I'm a Republican, right? I'm like, yeah, and you just kind of shock. But they were excited that someone was talking to them, and like I said, we didn't always fully agree, but just being able to have that conversation really kind of just got people engaged and interested in what I was doing running for office.
Yeah. Tony, before the show, Tony and I were talking, and you used to live in Alaska.
Yeah, I lived in Alaska for 10 years, 2003 to 2013. So I was really curious because I recognized a lot of the scenery and probably a lot of the people. I was in Alaska because I was in the Coast Guard stationed on a ship. And so I used to tell the technology people in the Coast Guard, if you wanted to know whether something worked or not, put it on my ship in Alaska, because Alaska will tell you whether it's going to work or not, whether it can survive the weather or the cold or the waves or the salt or the spray or the logistics challenges. And so I offer that because I was really encouraged by this, because I'll tell you what, if it works in Alaska, when they're dealing with thousands of miles of logistic challenges and everything else, it can work anywhere. That was my takeaway.
That's so funny. Maine, the other corner of America, has ranked choice voting, and they're working on open primaries. And my experience here in the middle of the country is that Alaskans and Mainers barely acknowledge that they're Americans. Like they like America too, but they are also like, all those mainlanders are doing something weird. And so I'm encouraged when it happens on the fringes, it starts moving to the mainland.
Yeah, and having lived both places, I will also say there's a lot of parallels between the average Alaskan and the average Oklahoman, because they're independent and they don't like being told what to do in general, and that makes me optimistic that the Oklahomans will be open to the concept of open primaries.
Yeah, the first time I saw the film, which is last year, I think, I walked away thinking, oh my gosh, we have so much in common with Alaskans. And he's not in this version of the film, but Luke, who ran the campaign in Idaho, we had a long chat about the similarities in our states. Not just do both states have panhandles, but we also have like a general distrust of government and a leave us alone, let's go our own way vibe. And when, people with money offered, hey, we have some celebrity power, he was like, no, keep your celebrities away from my state. We're skeptical of everyone who's an outsider. And I thought, I can relate to that. Arturo, as someone who is in the legislature now, how do you see closed primaries affect the way that lawmakers govern while in office?
I think it just goes back to accountability. There's not as much accountability with members to really go out and engage with their communities because so many races just go uncontested. So once they win, they register and get back into wanting to run for office. They don't get challenged, so they just continue to keep their seats without really getting any pushback if they're introducing bills or voting on bills that don't necessarily align with the needs of their community. So right now there's not a huge incentive for many members of the legislature to go out and talk to people. And you layer on top of that the way that they're only engaging with a certain group. So a lot of members, typically if they do have a race, it's only a primary. So they're kind of stuck in this, and it goes on both sides of the aisle. We're kind of stuck in a bit of a silo, right? So talking to people that we, for the most part, already agree with, it's just proving that we're Democrat enough or Republican enough. And given that we're in a fairly conservative state, I think I see that a lot more in the majority party. A lot of members have to prove that, I'm Republican enough to be in this seat. So members that typically would be more moderate have to kind of sway a bit more to the far right to show that they deserve to be in power. And recently there was elections where members that were more moderate lost their seats because there was a lot of organization, a lot of engagement during those primaries, where typically those very loud vocal voters were organized and voted.
Where it seems like team allegiance surpasses good governance too many times. Yeah. AJ is a former legislator and now as a nonprofit executive. Let's talk about collaboration. How do you see closed versus open primaries affecting lawmakers and even the public's willingness to collaborate?
Well, Arturo described it perfectly. When you retreat to your corner, when there's in this system, it rewards loyalty to the party only. I'm a proud rhino. We all know that rhino means well-fed unicorn. That is stolen from Rococo, just so we're clear, but it's a well-fed unicorn. How we govern is a direct reflection of the process that puts people in office. I mean, the system determines the outcome. And I saw it fairly clearly as a member, but now having stepped out and watched in retrospect, the decisions that are made every day are directly reflective of the fear involved in someone trying to take that position from you. There's a whole problem with who we elect to, but how we elect those individuals definitely impacts how they govern every day. In fact, so much so that what bills are filed, we have people who will file a bill because it will look good when they talk about how they filed it. They have no intention of that sucker being moved forward. It's purely performative, and I think this is the only way to remedy that problem. You're not performing to the base, you're actually doing the work.
Well, and how we elect people changes the incentives for who runs, right? Like, we've all talked to people who you think, man, they'd be great in office. And they say, are you kidding?
Well, it was interesting to see when this story that started, how many were in that primary?
48.
48? We're lucky if we can get 4.
Or 2.
Or, yeah, in many situations 2. And more engagement leads to more engagement, which improves the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that 48 candidates for one race might be excessive, but also really exciting.
It's kind of cool.
Really, like, you want choice. This is way more than TCBY or whoever had like the 48 flavors. I don't know. Anyway.
Especially when Santa Claus is on the ballot.
Santa Claus on the ballot, and he lost. We used to be the proper country. Tony, for you, so you're a petitioner on State Question 836. You're a veteran, you're an independent voter. State Question 836 is for a top 2 open primary system, right? Where all the candidates would be on the ballot with their party affiliation, but all voters, including independents like you and I, would be allowed to vote and choose our top 2. Why? Like, what made you interested in this? Why do you think this reform is good for Oklahoma?
It starts with the narrative of Tony moving to Oklahoma, getting his driver's license, registering to vote, no party like I've done for a long time, and then being told a little later that meant I didn't get to vote, which really bothered me. A lot of people don't know this. Over half of the military community is independents, just like myself. Everybody has their own reasons. For me, it's more of my oath of allegiance was to the Constitution, not to a red or a blue color. So I've kind of managed that. And I'm kind of ticked off about a closed primary because I served my country for 20 years and I don't get to vote in the election that matters that my tax dollars pay for. And so what State Question 836 does is resolves that problem. It resolves my problem, the problem of over half of the military community. If you didn't know this, 500,000 independent voters in Oklahoma, solves their problem. And by the way, it has all these other ancillary benefits that we just learned about in this documentary. So that's what it means to me.
Yeah. AJ and Arturo, as elected officials, as we'll say partisans compared to Tony, a lot of the critiques in the film are about that open primaries weaken parties, right? That it should be, like if they're a party, they should be allowed to choose who their person is. What's your response to that concern?
Parties are affiliated groups. If you choose, you have the freedom to affiliate with that group, but they're actually not recognized as part of our Constitution. They were never intended to be part of this process necessarily, certainly not in this manner, to have so much control. If you want to choose to affiliate with that group, you're still free. And candidates can choose to affiliate or not affiliate. And I think as someone who is a freedom-loving American, I think the freedom to choose who not only represents you, but who you represent yourself as part of is very important. And to me, this is the logical conclusion for someone who respects the Constitution.
Yeah, definitely want to second a lot of that because, even with the governor, a former governor of Idaho, right, the freedom to vote, the ability to give people that voice, giving power back to the people, because so many, of our veterans, first off, thank you for your service, are just shut out from the ability to participate in elections. I have a lot of conversations with members from other states that have supermajority, they're in supermajority Democratic states, and they tend to oppose, similar to what was happening in Nevada, things like open primaries or ways to just give that power back to the people, because many think that it's, oh, like, well, we're just giving up power to the other party. Like, slowly our party is losing power. We see that here in Oklahoma with the majority party, which would be the Republican Party. So there is always that opposition with the party that's in power tends to oppose measures that give power back, not to another party, but back to the people. So there is fear and, oh, like, are we going to lose seats? But I think it should be encouraged because it really helps us get out of those silos of, we're only talking to Democrats or we're only talking to Republicans. So really making sure that we take it back to the people, because for the most part, you have a lot of independents, a lot of people that in many ways can really help moderate Oklahoma and other states. So I'd say it's something that can really help get people more involved.
At the end of the film, they're talking to Lisa Rice in DC, and they mentioned that she had to fight for implementation. And indeed, the city council, which is democratically led, has fought tooth and nail to not fund or implement this, even though 70% of voters approved it in every precinct in town. She's still fighting the good fight. But that's such a clear sign of this isn't a party issue, this is a power issue, right? Whoever's in power wants to keep it. One last question for the panel, and then we'll do a brief Q&A for the audience in case they have any questions. But in one sentence, what do you think is the biggest takeaway for Oklahomans from the film? And I'll start with Tony.
Open primaries are logical and they work.
Perfect.
One sentence. If you believe when we said we the people, this is the way we fix that.
Power back to the people.
All right. Well, I can't argue with any of those. Put it on my tombstone. Audience members, do you have any questions for anyone on stage? Just raise your hand. I see a hand. Go ahead and shout it out.
Mine's kind of a two-pronged question.
Two-pronged question. I'm going to repeat it back.
And the first one, are there any statistics that show that this actually increases voter participation? Because we know that in Oklahoma, we have some of the lowest, if not the lowest, voter participation in the entire country.
Do you want to say both parts?
Well, okay, so the second one is a little bit more directed at AJ, since she's been on, or actually our representative too. With looking at that script that you talked about, because I'm a 5 for 5 voter. I voted, I work for a government agency, and so I vote in municipal everything. It's very important to me. But if you were to reach out to the 2 to 5 voters instead of the 5 to 5, I would give them. Candidates are no, I'm going to be them with the route. But if you flip that script, will that improve and increase engagement? And why won't they let you do that?
Statistics show that in states that change primary, that voter participation increases by a minimum of 15%. That's on the low end. So the statistics show us, and we are 50th, by the way, in voter participation. We're the bottom of the barrel in the country. So yes, it would improve engagement. And the other thing that'll happen is it'll improve the engagement of the candidates. If you're having to appeal to all voters, I think we change elections significantly. When first time I ran, my campaign consultant says, "I need a picture of you with something dead." I'm like, "What?" He said, like a deer or a fish or something. I'm like, "I don't hunt fish. What are you talking about?" But he knew what the Republican primary voter was going to look. We settled on me on the back of, I was on the back of a horse. That's as close as I could get because that's just not me.
Was it a dead horse?
It was a live horse. The horse was living. I was riding her. It'll change it'll change the way the mail looks that shows up in your mailbox, which has to improve voter turnout because there's going to be more people who connect with people who are being genuine in themselves.
And the only thing I would add to that is that, I'd say if we flip that script and really focused on those, not as engaged voters or just people that are registered, but maybe they haven't really voted a whole lot, I think we would see more people engaged because there's so many that they've just never been reached out to. So they don't really know where to start. They don't know where to vote. Typically, those voters that are already engaged, they already know where their polling place is, they already know how to research candidates, which organizations are creating just voter guides. They already have that, and it's habitual, right? So if they've done it before, they kind of know how to do it again. And I think we should be pouring more resources into trying to get those voters that are voting for the first time, that are registered but they've never voted or they voted very minimally, because those are people that, they care. All of these decisions go back and impact them. So we can find ways to go back and really focus on those people. We can really get more people and drive up that turnout, and hopefully not be last in the nation in voter turnout and civic engagement.
We didn't used to be last. From 1978 until the early 2000s, Oklahoma was middle of the pack, 28th, 32nd, right around there. It wasn't until the late 2000s and really the last 3 presidential elections that our participation fell off a cliff. No, it used to be a supermajority the other way, right? Democrats had a supermajority for a long time, up until the early 2000s. Really, in 2008 is when we started dropping. We went to 42nd, and then 46th, and then 50th, the last 2. I have all this on my desk at work, and I've been staring at it, asking the same questions. Why? How did we get here? And how do we fix it? I will also add that in addition to structural electoral reform, a huge thing we can do to help turnout is talk to our neighbors, talk to our friends. I know that's like, everyone kind of says, yeah, I don't want to talk about politics to my neighbors, especially right now. And like, I get it. I just moved last summer. I've met my neighbors on both sides. I don't know, I haven't looked them up in the voter file yet to see their party affiliation, nor do I care. But I'm trying to make relationships with them. They know that I care. We put yard signs out about voting. We're trying to do more nonpartisan stuff. It's just register to vote. If you have a neighbor that's just promoting voter registration, they're probably a safe source of information. That could be you, right? Just let people know, hey, I'm here for information, because there's a lot of folks who are curious, politically curious or interested, but they are nervous or they're not sure who to ask because no one else in their circle is a voting person. You could be that voting person. All right, other questions for the panel? Joel in the back?
Why only top 2? Why
only top 2?
4, top 6, why only top 2?
Great question.
A lot of very expensive research into what Oklahoma voters would accept. And I'm with you. I like the concept of ranked choice. Ranked choice voting involves math.
Well, even if it's not ranked choice, right? Because it's in the open primary, if I understand correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but if I understand correctly, it's open primary. All the candidates are listed in the primary, and only the top 2 advance to the general, and you only get 2 to choose from in the general. Why not more to choose from?
Honest answer is a lot of very expensive polling to see what voters in Oklahoma were open to. And this was the system that rose to the top, that this is the one we think we've got a shot at getting across the line.
My understanding is that's also the same thing that happens in municipal elections, like for mayor. Mayors go from a primary to a top 2. So it's logically aligned, maybe easier to digest.
The most familiar.
Yeah. The earliest poll that I'm aware of is in 2015 when people did some polling in Oklahoma on this issue. Back then, Mayor Holt was in the state Senate with AJ, and he ran a bill for open primaries back when he was in the state Senate. That's how one of the things he and I met. And he introduced me to John Opdyke, who runs open primaries, the national organization. And we've been having a lot of conversations about this, and it comes down to well, what do Oklahoma voters want? Let's let them choose and see which one is the most popular. The other thing to remember about reform, right, is that this is one reform. It's not the only one. It may not be the only one that we can build on. We might do top 2 and people are like, hey, this is cool, but what if we tried 4 and then we could rank them? Oh, okay, this incremental change is still change, still
So
progress.
one of the rules of politics is that you never let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And this isn't perfect, but it is good.
Yeah, and I think Tony's exactly right. The fact that it's just extending what municipal elections look like already, it's familiar to everybody. That makes sense. Good question, Joel. Anybody else?
I have one more.
Great. Was there one other hand too? Okay, we'll do.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll do him first.
Yeah, at a previous forum, when I first heard about the state question for open primaries, I was surprised to find out that the primaries are paid for by tax dollars. I think that was the strongest argument for opening up the primaries. That being said, have we thought about, what do we do if the parties come back and say, fine, we'll actually fit the bill to run our own primaries and close it again?
My answer is I would love to see them try to raise the amount of money and the coordination it takes. The film does a great job. Like, Oklahoma has a really excellent election system, the way that we do it with paper ballots that are optically scanned. Every precinct in our state does the same machines. That's not the case in every state. A lot of states have different systems, county by county, and it's a real mess. In Alaska, the fact that half their state is not accessible by road, and they have to fly in ballots and vote in, that blows my mind. And even when you look at the map of how many precincts there are and how many different ballots they would have to receive, the idea of bifurcating that into or more for multiple parties seems outlandish, but that's just me. Do you guys have any other answers besides it's complicated and expensive?
Having attended a couple of state party conventions, yeah, it's not gonna happen.
That's a good answer too. Go ahead, you have a question?
Okay, no, my other question, I realize this is about primaries specifically, but if something like this were to happen, getting more voter engagement, I think it would also lead to a slowdown in the number of people who just go in and just straight party ticket walk out the door, that they would be forced to actually research and look and engage with who these candidates are and what they stand on and their policies.
So what's the impact on straight ticket voting? That's a good question, Tony.
For me, I think the answer is that it's going to encourage people to become more educated because it'll actually be a meaningful November election because there'll be a couple of candidates listed, and so people are going to be incentivized to go read about what those candidates are, what separates them, what do they stand for, what are they against, that kind of stuff. And I think that in and of itself is a good thing because it leads to a more educated voter.
Well, and this basically eliminates straight party ticket, because everybody's on the same ticket, you gotta pay.
And you might have to choose between 2 R's or 2 D's.
Or 48.
Yeah. Or Santa Claus. North Pole is a city in Alaska, by the way. So
Southeastern Sasquatch.
That's great. Any other questions before we wrap up? These have been very good. All hearts clear. Let's give it.
Can I make one comment, please?
Please, yeah.
All right, so Vote Yes 836 is the website to go to if you want to know more about the ballot question, which is currently has been filed, not yet in the signature collection stage, but we hope to be there soon. We're close. We survived a Supreme Court challenge by one of the parties. So please go there to get educated. And in the back, Sarah, if you'll raise your hand, if you'd like to become engaged and meet somebody who's involved with the campaign other than me, go see Sarah. We're definitely in need of resources in terms of people and financial support to make this a reality. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw just today on social media that they're starting volunteer organizations. So if you're interested in collecting signatures for the campaign, it sounds like.
It will be on the November 2026 ballot.
Nice. Let's give a big hand to our panelists. Friends,